You know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the cafe as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation. Brian Hagberg with you on your daily local. Got myself a fresh cup of Dragon's Roast I picked up right here at the cafe. You can stop in and get yourself a fresh cup. Get it in one of these special laser engraved tumblers. Get it filled with your purchase. When you bring it back, you get 50% off your refills as part of the White Cane Coffee Mug Club. While you're here, you can pick up maybe a cinnamon roll or a Danish breakfast burrito is great as well. Stop in around lunchtime. Soup and sandwiches now available at the White Cane Coffee Cafe as well. If you can't make it down here to the plaza across from Tops, that's not a problem. White Cane's also available on DoorDash. Just place your order. Have your favorites delivered right to your door. You can also order your favorite roasted brew at home online at whitecanecoffee.com. This is Coffee and a Conversation, and this week our special guests are
Herb Schumann,
Noah Sharp from Charcoal and Gray. And guys, this is a new organization here in Warren County, and explain a little bit about what Charcoal and Gray is, what you do, and how you came up with this concept.
Okay, so it was about people re-entering society, getting full-time employment and the resources that they first need that can sometimes be a barrier to people re-entering society.
And so how did you kind of come up with the concept of we need this service?
The concept came from my wife came home from prison in 2020 and around August of 2020, and by September she hadn't availed herself of any of the current options that were out there for recidivism and outpatient treatment or anything like that. And by November, she had passed away and died from an overdose. So it all turned from getting released, what should be one of the happier days of your life, to one of the more tragic days pretty quickly in a 3-month turnaround.
And so, with that experience, what did you kind of see as the need here for getting the service to folks that are trying to re-enter? And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is for people coming out of jail, coming out of substance abuse and rehab programs, sure. Right? Like kind of all encompassing, right?
Re-entry in general, yeah. Whatever your method of re-entry is re-entry. Rejoining society after a brief, elongated stay. So, I forget the question. So why did you guys think that this service was more necessary, as opposed to what's kind of currently there, which is not much, right? Because no one is really doing this specific thing. Like everybody knows that getting out and getting a job is really important when you first get out, but nobody is really pressing that issue all that much. Like it's a part of all your treatment plans and anywhere you go, Beacon Light, behavioral or family services, wherever you go, it's going to be a part of your treatment plan. But nobody really addresses it head on to the degree that we're going.
Well, and part of your program, right, is you're going out to local businesses to kind of explain, hey, just because somebody's coming out of jail or a program or whatever, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, we work with the Career Link and the OVR, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, right up there at the farm colony, and we can get a certain percentage of the employees' benefits paid for, whether that be salary or training or different things like that, through one of those avenues. We can also get them further training in an area that they would like to, not just the area that their job demands, but also the future area that they would like to pursue down the road at some
point. And so you mentioned, your wife passing away, and our condolences to you for that. I mean, that's just got to be, on top of everything else, just an awful experience. But we had spoken last week, and you guys mentioned this from the time you really said, all right, we're going to do this, to today has really kind of come together very quickly. So explain that process a little bit about how you actually got started with charcoal gray.
Sure. I think it just kind of started as like an idea that I knew that we wanted to do some point in the future. And that was kind of what it started as. We didn't have any of the know-how or any of the really any marketable skills whatsoever that I could put towards this in the first place. But that was the beginning of it. Just an idea that started at rehab about the same time my wife passed away. And Noah is a CRS, and he works down at Family Services. And I also am a CRS, and I got a job at Deerfield. And at some point in time, when we were working through there, I kind of figured that I was ready enough to start the process, but I didn't really know what that would be. And then we started it after Thanksgiving of November, and that was the official start point. And then this has all happened in that short period of time from November until now.
And so Noah, how did he get you roped into all of this? Get you to be part of it?
Well, I mean, Herb and I, we knew each other obviously through work. We were on treatment court together because, and I think that's important to mention. Like this, the reason that we're big on this is the fact that we have both gone through the system and had to deal with the same struggles that we're trying to help everybody else deal with now. But we were on a ride to Maple Manor to go and do a meeting for the people at the rehab up there, and he had mentioned this to me, and I told him I was in.
Yeah.
And
It's not as soon as you heard kind of the idea, you were just, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so what is because you guys are a nonprofit.
Sure.
And so explain a little bit the process of getting, that whole status and getting yourselves set up to operate as a nonprofit, right? Because that's a whole process in and of itself.
Well, I mean, it can be as much as one as you make it. You can also do it relatively simple too. We just filed right through LegalZoom. Jeremy Snow with the Snow Family Foundation made a donation to us to be able to start the process in the beginning. So I'm really thankful to him for even starting us up. And then we just filed all the stuff through LegalZoom, and then that was the beginning of it. But we were smart enough to add multiple board members as quickly as possible to get us maintaining, because we could never do what we were doing without any one of the members that we have on the board right now.
We're qualified to work with our demographic, but outside of that, we don't have a whole lot of professional qualifications that would be necessary to run a company.
Right.
But we have supplemented that by having people on our board that do have all those qualifications, highly qualified people. Yeah. Much better than us.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and I mean, because you have to know specific ways to do the accounting and everything to maintain that nonprofit status. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes that maybe, people don't fully understand. And I'm sure you guys had an education, right?
Oh, for sure.
No idea.
I'm still not sure I'm doing it right.
So what has the response been like from the community so far since you guys have been up and running?
Overwhelmingly positive. It just seems like anybody that we have asked for support or has given it wholeheartedly, it seems like the doors are opening up for not just us specifically, but this type of, it speaks to how much the program is needed. Not specifically to me or Noah as individuals, but just how much a program like this is needed in the area. Because everybody that we have asked to, pretty much has met us with open arms.
And has that been true, so far, like in the business community as well? I mean, and there's going to be, I'm a business owner, right? You see somebody come in and they've got, a record, or they're coming out of rehab or whatever. There's going to be pause. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's just an instinctive kind of, okay, are we going to run into issues here, or, is this person ready to come back and re-enter?
I think there will always be some of that to some degree, but I think we can offer them a fairly comprehensible package that will entice hiring somebody like the we're working with, because we can get a beginning of the
like up to 400 hours of an employee's salary paid up to $12 an hour, and that's like that's a good.
Yeah.
It's more than minimum wage for sure. You know, the CareerLink will just chip in, and then anything over that, there are some programs where the person can comply or can apply that will have the OVR pay the rest of it. So the potential for pretty good wages there,
Right.
and then along with all the other like checking in with the employee routinely after we place them, that we do different other steps, the training outside the 12 session program that we have that we can teach, employability and different other life skills like that. There's just a lot of different stuff that we're doing, and we've been met with a lot of open arms about it all.
And you know, you guys mentioned both of you have kind of had your own struggles with reentry and coming back in and understand that process from that end of it. And how much has that experience helped you get this going and really understand what needs to happen to make a successful reentry, right? So somebody's not slipping back and going back into jail or going back into rehab or what have you.
Yeah.
So the demographic we work with is who we are. So we do completely understand where they're coming from when they're getting out of jail, prison, rehab.
Right.
We've come back from all those places and had to restart. And it's much easier for us to be able to identify with them and keep them on track when they want to meet with us and stuff. Obviously, when they go into all these other places that offer services, they're extremely useful. Like they can't even really say how much these services are needed that all these other places have. Human services and family service, all these places are great. But the one thing that they don't have is somebody who has the same life experience as somebody that's coming out. And when you don't have that, people tend to shy away because they walk in and they see somebody who's sitting in an office, has a degree, and is telling them what they have to do to get well or to get a job or to do all this stuff. And that's not how we operate.
Right.
We're operating coming from the same place that you did, and we want to be able to get you on the same track that we were fortunate enough to be able to. But we did it the hardest way possible. And now we want to show somebody else that it's easier.
Right. That you don't have to take this, you know, long, winding, full of potholes and obstacles kind of road that they're right. Like there's an interstate right over here that you can take.
Because they offered all the services in the world to us when we come back.
Yeah.
But we won't take them because you guys don't get it. You don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't know what we're going through. And that's really the mindset of people when they tends to be the mindset when people come out.
Well, right, because you know, again, in our conversation earlier, you guys were mentioning like you get assigned somebody right when you come out. Like it's not like, oh, here's a list, or you know, here's a few people that you can pick from. Sure. It's you're gonna go see X and they're gonna do everything, and you know, like you said, the trust. Right, may or may not be there depending on, you know, who that person is.
Yeah, and it makes it really difficult when you just don't get to build that rapport with somebody, and instantly when you walk in, and like I said, they're incredibly helpful. They have all these resources, but you still feel like they're just doing their job and they don't care, and that's a place where we get to differ and we have more time to be able to spend with people, and we can sit and talk about what it was like when we were in and they were in, and you know, compare stories and build that.
And so it's, you know, obviously the folks who have been in place, right? They have the knowledge and the know-how and the skill set and everything, but they don't have that personal experience to share. Where you guys can now offer all of that knowledge base. With hey, look, I've been in your shoes. I know how hard it is to try to get back into, you know, getting a job and getting into that work routine and things like that. And you're able to.
And we're going to send them to all the same places that they would have been sent to in the first place
anyways.
Right.
But we just have a better relationship with them other than a probation officer or something where they're struggling to have that kind of trust to be able to believe that this next person's going to help them.
Yeah.
When we tell them the next person's going to help them, okay, let's go work with them.
Does there come a point, and I mean, speaking from your own personal experience, when you mentioned, some of the counselors or the probation officers or whatever, do you go into it kind of feeling like they're working against you, or how does that dynamic from your experience, on that side of it?
Right.
Yeah, right. Like what is that dynamic like for somebody who's just coming out?
The feeling is that no matter who you see, they're trying to put you back in jail.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and it's not true.
Right.
But that's the way that you feel. You go, you see probation, you get a drug test, you get asked a bunch of questions about what's going on in your life, and it's not matching up to what the expectation is. You're always afraid you're going to go back to jail. You go to see a counselor, and because it's assigned through probation, you feel like you can't be honest because they're going to talk to probation and tell them what you said.
Yeah.
And it's the same with every other resource that you get involved with, because you just always feel like no matter what you do, if you're honest and open with people, you're ending up.
It's going to come back and bite you, right? Like if you're completely 100% telling the truth, that it works against your best interest.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe so, oh well, I'm trying to do X, Y, or Z, whatever. Right. And excuse me. And so what was that process like for you guys personally to be on that other end of, okay, I'm coming out, I'm trying to find a job, trying to have a place to live, and all of those kind of things that.
Well, I mean, I've had varying degrees of success with it, depending on how serious or not serious I was with trying to do better when I got out that particular time. And I think like a lot of it had to do with how much support I had during those attempts and throughout those attempts. And I think that is, excuse me, kind of what we're able to offer is like a degree of support, because we've been through it and we can relate to you, as opposed to like a support that you could use your probation officer support as a support,
right.
But most people that are coming right out of jail aren't going to be very inclined to do that.
Probably going to be a little leery of somebody with a badge or law enforcement related.
Whereas they might be they're going to be probably, I would think, a lot more prone to call us that we can help. Like, if not offered services directly, at least steer them towards the agency, that would be most appropriate for them.
And so what was the experience like for you guys, just even going out and trying to find work, right? Because again, there's going to be that stigma.
Yeah.
And so how difficult was it to find places that were willing to, kind of overlook that or put it aside and just kind of look at you as, can this person bring value to our organization?
So really, it's unfortunate, but when you really get out of those institutions, you already know what places are available to you to work. And those are the only places that you go to try to find work. And that's like, they're great places, and they really, because they're willing to hire people directly from the institution, like they're invaluable, but it shouldn't be the only option that we have, right? So, I mean, I was extremely fortunate this past time, and I was on the treatment court here for a couple years, and during that time, I got offered a position at Family Services, which is just not a position that somebody with my record and still currently on probation at the time and all of this thing really have an option to do. But we want to make sure that that is a possibility for people, and by trying to provide employers with a means to provide a salary for a time where they don't actually lose anything, it makes it far more enticing to give somebody a job in a different area than just what has always been known to take people from work.
Right. And so when you look at, kind of the economic trend here in Warren County, right, like you said, there's, where you can go, right, when you come out, but as, more and more people are leaving, do those jobs become even harder to get because, maybe they're downsizing or, some of the places leave or what have you. I mean, how does that play into, you know, how much more difficult it makes it for somebody coming out?
I mean, it's more difficult because places are downsizing, and I guess that's a big part of the incentive that we're able to offer, because it's not going to cost you anything to bring somebody on outside of standard overhead, you know, management type costs. But then you're able to bring on employees for little to no cost and have that rebuild your workforce and your systems without having to expend any money, which should be, we're hoping will be enough incentive to really get people on board.
And you know, so now you mentioned, you know, kind of right after Thanksgiving is when you got everything going. We're now, into March. Have you been able to actually get with people coming out and help them find work and start that process yet, or are you still
we've been able to start the process? We haven't secured. Well, we had the first girl we staff found a job for was kind of in an informal situation, and it just kind of worked out. Right place, right time. So we got our first client staffed kind of on accident, but our next one, Noah referred to me from Family Services. We got him set up. We met the Tanya at the library and met with her and got him all registered and in the system for CareerLink. And then he was already registered with the OVR, so we didn't have to do much in there. And right now we're in the process of we think we have in place. We're just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. As soon as that happens, we can.
So currently, we haven't been able to connect with the jail to be able to go in and directly work with people that are being brought out. So we have been working with dislocated workers that have a record or a substance use history, so that we're able to help them find.
And so, generally speaking, I mean, how long does that process, you know, when somebody comes to you to, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on, you know, what the job market is at that point in time. But I mean, generally speaking, about how long would you expect that process to take?
That's a pretty good question. We haven't had a lot of information to back it up, but I would hope within a month, you know, we would be able to look at this employee and say we should have a solid plan for getting them.
So we meet with CareerLink weekly, and so if you sign up on a Friday, the next Wednesday we would be meeting with CareerLink to get you signed up with them to go through their process, and that takes about 2 weeks to get that going is what they've had so far. So, you know, 3 weeks to a month is depending on employer, obviously.
Right. And you know, for somebody, you know, that's coming out maybe on, you know, going to be on probation or whatever, what kind of timelines are they typically looking at as far as, you know, if you don't have something set up by or within, you know, X amount of days?
It's really kind of hit and miss. I mean, there's no, I don't think there's a way to accurately judge that.
Yeah, they just tell you need to be employed.
Get right on that. Okay.
Yeah. Necessarily how to go about accomplishing.
Right. But there's not like, you know, okay, today's, you know, March 1st. If you're not employed by March 31st, we're putting you back in or anything like that?
No, you just have to be actively looking for a job, because I mean they do understand that it's not easy to just go out with a record and pick up a job, and especially now, like with companies downsizing, things like that, it is harder to get one. So they're understanding of that as long as you are looking for one. But you know, obviously they want you to get one as quick as possible. Be paying your fines to have because all that's really.
It starts to become such a detriment after a short period of time. Anyway, if you haven't had one, because your fines are piling up and you need a car,
right? Well, you got to put a roof over your head, right? Like,
rent, you know, 100 other bills that pop up right away. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the cost of living in general, you know, and then like you were mentioning with, you know, fines or whatever on top of all of that. And you know, how beneficial do you think it would be, you know, for you guys to get you know, you mentioned try to get hooked up with the jail and also with probation to kind of work hand in hand with both of them.
That would be great. That's exactly what we would like to do in the future. The problem is, like, a lot of people, I guess, are probably waiting on us to send out, like, because all this happened so quickly.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
It was just November the other day, and we're just trying to siphon through the things that we need done, and we need done quickly, and it's a lot. So,
But like you said, we have a 12 session program, and we would like to get that into the jail. And anybody that's within 10 weeks of release that needs employed, that doesn't have a job through the jail or after they're coming out, we'd like to be able to work with and get them set up to be able to find something, so that when they come out within the next couple of weeks, we can get them going. So really, being hooked into the jail is it's instrumental in making this service work the way that we would like it to.
Yeah. Now, if you were to be able to get hooked up with them, is it possible with, say somebody completes the training session, could you start that process of getting them signed up with CareerLink or something, so that the day they come out, those things are kind of already in motion?
That's kind of why we want to be doing it so badly, is because we can line that up pretty close to the release date. As long as we know it, we can line that up pretty close, because they can complete all their CareerLink paperwork while they're so incarcerated. They can start the OVR paperwork to a degree while they're still incarcerated, as long as they still have certain documentation. It's a process. So we can begin that process as soon as we can.
Right. Yeah.
So we can do it in jail, the paperwork for the most part, and then because, like I said, we meet with CareerLink every Wednesday. So the Wednesday after they come out, we can have them connected with CareerLink and started.
Right. You start like, okay, here's the most recent stuff that CareerLink has available, and is there anything here where you think you'd be a good fit or whatever? And again, is that something that through the course of that, getting them in the training sessions and things like that, you could kind of find out that information ahead of time, and so say somebody's got experience as a welder or something, right? Like say, okay, hey, we've got this person coming out, and they have this experience, and these are the kind of places we should be focusing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The CareerLink attempts to identify the people's background skills as much as possible, and we would also like to do that when we're thinking about future employment. Like, what have you already done? What do you already do? What would you like to do in the future? And we can, like, to a degree, try and plan their employment based off of that.
And part of one of the sessions in our course is resume writing. So obviously we're going to find out what they've already done in the past and they're able to do, or what they would like to do based on just what they're telling us while we're going through that process. I'd say that session specifically is really aimed towards finding the proper placement, because then we'd be able to either send them through the CareerLink or through the OVR, depending on what they need, if they need more training or if they just need to go straight to work.
So we mentioned a couple of times this has been kind of a whirlwind, right? Like getting this all put together. But if you take a step back and think about long-term future, where do you see Charcoal Gray going from here, and how big or how what are your long-term goals here?
Well, I mean, we're starting with the reentry and good jobs, and we would just like to keep piling on services to help with reentry, in combination with that. Just more comprehensive reentry services, different things like I don't know. I heard about the horses equine therapy for vets reentry society. Maybe we could do something like that. Those are all really far down the road plans, but we just like to gear it towards as many reentry services as we can reentry in the state.
We aren't overly worried about the growth that we're worried about is inside of our own community, because that's really what we are focused on. But don't get me wrong, like long term, it would be great if we could expand beyond that. I know there's a program in Erie that does this same thing. We've talked to the man that runs that. He got us set up with how to get this started.
Right.
And that's, you know, so he does it on a slightly bigger scale, being Erie, and he has more funding and opportunity than we do. But if we could take this and grow it, you know, just like county by county until we expand it to any place that it doesn't already exist, because you know that's great that it exists in Erie,
Right.
but it doesn't in Warren.
Yeah.
Only the county over.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And you guys exist now in Warren, but does that necessarily help somebody in Forest or McKean, right? Yeah. And I mean, would that seem like a natural kind of expansion? You know, Forest maybe especially right with the jail or over to McKean.
Yeah, I mean, Forest is linked so closely with us already. We don't have people re-entering Forest County are a lot of times re-entering from the Warren County jail. So we don't have any specific requirement as far as like you have to be living in the city. It's just we can more effectively help you with car.
Right. Well, right. Yeah. Well, because again, you know, transportation, right, is another one of those things that
Huge hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's somebody that's in the city and to some extent in the county, right? You have access to the transit authority buses and things like that. But, you know, again, with the 800 square miles of county, right? Like that might not be a great way if you're, you know, getting a job, you know, up in Sugar Grove somewhere. Right. Yeah.
and like Forest County, I mean, obviously we want to be able to work there too. They're so close, and everybody that gets sentenced in Forest goes to Warren.
Yeah.
And so we want to be able to work with them too, but it does provide barriers that we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, because even like our service will stay with an employee and an employer for as long as it takes after they get placed, which will come in like bi-weekly and talk to both ends of that, the employer and the employee, to make sure everything's going well and that everybody's happy with what's going on. But that does mean now we have to travel to Forest or wherever, and if we were able to grow where we had people that were already stationed there, that would be fantastic.
Yep. No, I understand that. I mean, we've kind of made that expansion ourselves. So yeah, it can be a hurdle, sometimes a major obstacle sometimes, just to, you know, finding time to make those trips, and you know, and time, right? Like is limited for everybody. But so if somebody, you know, watching this wanted to reach out, you know, a business owner, whatever, wanted to reach out to you guys, how would they connect with you?
Well, we have a website, www.charcoalandgray.org.
Gray with an E.
Gray, G-R-E-Y.
Yeah. Spell out the and, right? Yeah.
And then we have a Facebook page that's at Charcoal and Gray with 2 Y's this time. And then my phone number is on both the website and Facebook page, so you can call me at either.
You guys find it's just all kinds of different ways to spell gray, right? Yeah. Is that kind of the goal? Every time you set up something new, you spell it a different way, right?
No, it was really inconvenient that Facebook already had Charcoal and Gray. So I had to put an extra letter on it.
Well, guys, thank you so much for stopping down and taking some time with us. I mean, this is obviously, I think when you look around Warren County and you see the way things are trending, this is a service that's greatly needed, and wish you guys the best of luck and hope it becomes a success.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that will wrap it up for our Coffee and a Conversation today, presented by White Cane Coffee. Tune in every Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation. For Herb and Noah, this is Brian on your Daily Local saying thank you so much for watching, everybody, and enjoy your weekend.
You know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.